In this tutorial, we will build a registration form with validation. Here we have username, email, password, age, address. This username will not be less than 5 characters, and email must be valid email. Password will be alphanumeric. This age will not be less than 18 and will not be greater than 100. This address will not be null. So now let me have an error input here so that we can see the error message. Username, let me have a less than 5 characters, something like this, and then here I will not have a valid email. Password, I will not put alphanumeric. In the case of age, let me have 17, which is less than 18, and this is null. Let me have, so we have first a general message of please fix the following errors and resubmit the form. So here we have username must be at least 5 characters long. Invalid email, the email I have submitted is invalid. Password must contain alphanumeric characters, and this age must be greater than or equal to 18. Then we have address is required. In this case, if I have the age which is above 100, we will also have a different message, and the message will be must be less than 100 or equal to 100. So now let me have a right input and try to submit. It will redirect us to the success page. Here let me have as it required, which is 5 characters. Email, let me have a valid email, something my email. Okay, we have a valid email here. Password, let me have alphanumeric, something like this. Okay, age, let me have 18 or 19, and address, let me have something that is not null. Okay, so let me submit the form and see. So it takes us to the success page. We have put a valid credential. So this is what we will build together with you in this tutorial. Let's start by initializing the project. Now we will initialize new Spring Boot project. Let's go to create project, and then here Spring Starter project, then next. Now it will connect us to the spring.io. so this is the previous project I have did on user registration. I have to change this detail. If you want a tutorial on user registration, you can follow on my channel. I have the user registration tutorial that submit the credential to the MySQL database. So in this case, this will be user registration and user registration validation. So I will just add validation, user validation tutorial, user credentials validation tutorial. Okay, this will be supposed to be in the description, and I will leave this package as coding techniques, and then this group will be user registration as well. Okay, we have the name of the project followed by the type. We will be using Marvin in this tutorial, Java 11. It doesn't matter which one you choose. So and the language is Java. Group, user registration validation, and here we have user credential validation tutorial, and the package is coding techniques. So now let's go next. If you have this in place, we will go to the next and add dependency. So here is the version of Spring Boot. I am using 3.1. so let me add the dependency. In this case, we will need first Spring Web, so and then we need a Spring, we need ThemeLeaf, which we will use as a template, and then we need Spring DevTools so that we can not be rerunning the application once we save it, so we don't need to rerun. We can check our work. So this is not only the only thing we need. The next thing is the validation. Now let's search for the validation, and here is the validation, which consists the functionality that we will use in our validation. So if you have all these in place, the next thing we will do is click finish. So it is now importing our project. So here is the project, user registration, validation. So now the next thing we will do, it is not okay. So let me open the class. The starter class is opening. Starter class for the project. The next thing we will do is to create a model class and declare our validation. But before then, let's run the application and check if we don't have any error. So let me run it here. We will run a Spring Boot app. So it is launching. Let's check here. So here is the project. We have no error in this project. So the next thing we will do is to create a model class for our validation and registration. Now let's start with our model class. For the model class, let's create a package, new package, and then have it model like this. So now we will create a new class inside the package model with the name user. Okay, so finish. Okay, here is our class. Okay, let me have some field which include private, string username, and then the next thing is private string email. So we also have private string password, and also private string age. The last thing we will have is private string address. Okay, this is the 5 field that we have for the project. Okay, we will create a getter and setter for this field, and then we will have each field we will have the validation for the field. So go to sources, and here generate getters and setters, select all. Okay, so this is our project now. Okay, let's start with the username. In this case we don't need ID, which is because we will not be keeping this record in the database, so we don't need ID, the primary key. So this is the only field that we need. So to add the validation, let me have for this username step by step. Okay, so let's start with at size. We have annotation at size, and in this case we will pass the minimum character that we want. We want a minimum character of 5 characters, and then if this character is less than 5, then we will have a message. Now let me have a message. The message is username must be at least 5 characters long. So let me add username must be at least 5 characters long. So let me change these to small letters. Okay, and this long will also. And if we have this character minimum of 5, we will have username must be at least 5 characters long. Okay, we finish with this one. Okay, so for a email we have annotation which is at email, and this at email will not let an invalid email, so we will just add it and have a message, and the message will be invalid email. If it sends invalid email, it will tell us that this email is invalid. Okay, let's have invalid email. It will check the email itself, so we will have invalid email. Okay, and now the next thing we will have to add is for the password. And in case of the password, we have the pattern for which our password will be on, and then we will have a regex, which is the type. Now let me add the add pattern. We have start with a pattern. Okay, and inside this we will pass the validation for the password. The first thing we need a regex. Okay, so inside this we will pass the regex, but for now let me pass the message. We will come back in a second. The message will be password must contain alphanumeric characters. So let me have password must contain alphanumeric characters. This alphanumeric means alphabet and then numeric. So we will pass our regex here. So let me copy the regex here. We have the regex here. So, and we will explain step by step. Okay, so this is our regex, and then let's pass it here. So now this is our regex, and then to explain this step by step, we will start with this anchor, which means the start of the string. Okay, we have this set of characters in bracket, and this is a citation or assertion to check if there is at least one alphabetic character which is letter anywhere in the string, which is anywhere in our password. And this is we have also, you see, we have this, which is a full stop and the sign for times. Okay, this matches a 0 or more of any character except a new line. And then we have this again inside this, our bracket, which is any uppercase or lowercase between A to Z. So, and then in the other end we have this. So this is a positive look ahead assertion to check if there is at least one numeric digit anywhere in the string. It will check if we have any numeric digit in the string, and inside this we have this slash. Okay, and this slash is supposed to be 2. It is not up to 4, so let's correct it. And this slash means it matches any digit 0 to 9. So, and at the end we have this, which means the end of the string. But there is something we have not explained, which is this one, dot and plus. This one is if it matches one or more any character except a new line. So this is our regex. There are so many regex online, and we have regex for email, password, and the regex for password, we have different regex for password, and the one that I am using here is this one. So, and the next thing that we will have the edge for edge. For edge is just simple, so we will just have to add admin, not admin or user. We will have this admin like this, and we will also have at max. Okay, so this admin, we will pass the minimum edge that we want to submit, and this is we will pass the maximum, which is the maximum is 100. So okay, let me save this. And in this case we don't have any message, so we don't have any message here because it have a message of its own. So it have a message of its own. If we have less than 18, if we have a less than 18, it will say that it must be less than 18 or equal to, it must be greater than 18 or equal to 18. And if we have above 100, it will say that it will be less than 100 or equal to 100. So the next thing we have here is just a address, and in the case of this address, what we have is at not blank, so it will not be blank. And the message, we will just have a message like this. Inside this message, that address is required. So this is what we all need in this model. address is required. Address is required. Okay, so here is the what we need. So let me have at least just a single constructor, public user. So public user, sometimes it needs just this to access, and if you doesn't have it, maybe you don't have any problem. So this is the end of this model. Okay, the next thing we will have is a controller class, which is the backend for our registration. Now in this step we will create a package controller and have a class that will handle our post mapping and get mapping for the registration. Now let's create face package controller. So we have empty package. Let's create a class which is user registration or user controller, whatever. So inside this controller, now we have a class user controller. The first thing we will do is to annotate this with add controller. As we are saving, then Spring DevTool is rerunning the program or restarting the program. So now in this we will have only two methods. The first one is the method that will get our registration page. Let's start at get mapping. Okay, so and here we will pass a path to our registration. So here we have registration. So okay, this is okay, and then the next thing we will do is public string. The public string get registration page, get reg page. So and then it will return the page, which is the page that we will create for the HTML is register. So okay, this is what we have, and then the next thing we need is add post mapping, and the post mapping will be of this type. So let's have a public string, and then we will have save user, the name of the method save user. Okay, in this case we will have, it will return success page at first. If we doesn't have error, we will have to create this success page as well. So and before then, here we need add model attribute of user. So in the form we will use this user. Okay, we have this user. Okay, this is what we have for the get mapping. And the second thing we will do is to have the implementation for our post mapping. So we need the add valid annotation, which will trigger the validation and have our user. So user having add valid and user as parameter, and then we need interface. The interface is errors. We will use this interface to check if we have errors. So the implementation is simple as this, that if errors that has errors that it will check if we have any error here. So let's open this and we will return the page. That is, we will not return the success page because it has error, and if it return the page we will see the errors that we have. So now let's have register, so which is the name of the page that we will create. So this is all for our controller that we will have. So the next thing we will do is to create a register page and a success page, which is a front end. Then we will start with the register page. Now let's go next and implement what the front end. Okay, now let's start with this register page. Okay, here in the template, let's check. Okay, we will have our template for the template order. Here we have HTML. Let's name it register. Okay, register. Okay, then we will click finish. So here is our register. So in this case I have asked the ChatGPT to generate me a register page. So let's see the question. Here we have generate me a HTML and CSS registration page with this color. So I have generated with this color. So here are the colors that maybe you can need to generate it with. You can have different color, it doesn't matter, but our implementation will be the same. So here is the name of the colors in the hexadecimal. Okay, so let me zoom it. So here is the color. So if I go back to the way I asked the question, here is a question. It combined both the HTML and CSS in the same page. So after we copy, we will separate them and take the CSS to the static folder. So let me copy this here. So before, let's check our registration page. Let's check our registration page. So before checking the registration page, now let's go back to the controller, since that we have not started implementing the arrow. So now let's comment this. So and then here we will return a register so that we will see how it look like, you see. So let's check the path localhost registration. So here is our registration. First, before we start the implementation, we need to take back a little step back. So let's go back to the CSS, and then here is our register. We said that we will copy the CSS to another folder, which is CSS. Now it is WordPress. Okay, let's copy this. Okay, cut. So now in the static we will have our images, JavaScript, and then CSS in the static folder. Now let's create a CSS file and name it just styles.css. Okay, here is our style.css. So let's save this and go back to the HTML. We need to delete this. So and let's check if, but before then we need to link our CSS with this HTML file. First we need a rel equal to style sheet, and then we need a href, which is at, then we open the bracket, the slash css slash style, the name of our css. Okay, let's check if it is working now. Need to refresh this. Okay, so you see it is not working. Let's check back and see where we have. This is just a plain HTML. Okay, let's see where we have an error. In the static folder we have the style. Okay, so we have href equal to this. Okay, so we did not create a folder of this type CSS. So let me try to remove this and check back again if our, okay, so it is back. Now let's take this a little step back. In the style.css, first the size of the container, we will check the size of the container is 400 pixels. So, and then this input is set to 100% of the size of the container, so we have to take this to 390 pixel or 385 pixel. So, and then let's check back. Okay, so you see now it taking a little step back, and then let's have some implementation of our register. So the first thing is right, we need a username, but this all we need a text. The type of the password is text also, because we want to see it as a plain written password. And then the type of the email we don't need the validation for this HTML. We need to check if our validation works that we have written in the model user. So we will duplicate two of these and change it to what we have, which is the age and the address. Age here and then address here. Address here, address. So this will be supposed to be age again, and this is the where we have address, and as well as this address. So we have username, email, password, age and address as written here. So username, email, password, age, address, the same thing here. So now what we will do next to start the implementation is this form will have the attribute of th action role, which is we will set the role to form, and then th action to registration, and then we also need a th object to user. So here is our form. The method post is right, we don't need to add anything. Role set to form, not from, form, and then we also need th action, which is equal to this attribute add, and then followed by our registration part, registration, the same. Okay, and then we also need the th object, which is th object like this will be set to user, as we write in the model user. So this is okay for this. And let's check the something that we have added. Something, you see, we have age, address, password, email, username. Okay, now we will start having the validation, and this will be step by step. First, we will start with the general message. If we have an error, so we will start with the general message, and the general message for the error is that if it has error, the method that we will have is with not with the parameter, and it is a span. So, and it will be inside the form. Let me have a span here, span, but before then let me add this to be a little easier. Span. So inside this we need a style first, because we will set the color to red. All arrows are always red. Color to red. So we will start the first implementation. So the next thing we will do is to have th there to check if we have error. Th, if, then we need this attribute. Okay, so then let's check using this hash and the field dot has errors. Okay, this method will check if we have error. So, and then if we have error, then we will have a message to please fix the following errors and resubmit the form. Please fix the following errors. Please fix the following errors and resubmit the form. Resubmit the form. Okay, this is what we have. Please fix the following errors and resubmit the form. And then we will start with the implementation of the username as well. This will also be, in this case we don't need a message here. The message will be generated using we have another attribute which is a th error. It will check what the message has. So in this case we will need a username here, username, and as well as then we also have a th dot error. So this th dot error equal to this th dot error equal to username. Okay, so this is what we have for this. Now we will just be changing this username, and then we will change this. So now let's check for this. So this will be email. We will have to email, and as well as this email. So we will have email, and then we will recopy it again and check for the password. So for the password also we will change it to this password. So, and then we'll also change this to password as well. So password. Okay, and then we will copy this again. Sorry, let me take this back. So go back to the registered and then copy this again, th error password, and then let's check this for the h. Let's change this to h, and then as well as the still h. For the address again, we just need to also change this to h, the address, so to address. So the last thing we will do is to create a form, which is for the success, not the form, the HTML file for the success. Here in the template we will have it with the name success page. Okay, so and then let's have a h1 here, a h1, and this h1 will be success. Okay, so now let's go back to the controller and remove the comment that we have. Okay, we will do control. Okay, so now let's check if our implementation is working. So let me have some messages that has error. First, I will not have 4 character here. I will not have a correct email here. At the same thing as the h, I will have something like 17, and then address, let me have just a space blank. So let me check if we okay. So we have an error, and let's check to see what is the error. So let's check, expiration cannot be null. So let's check the validation. Okay, let's go back to our register, which is the model. So we save this and then check for not blank address is required. So okay, and then let's check our register.html. So I noticed something that we have not addressed. So this supposed to be within a single quotation, and the same thing with this one. All these that we have, this method has arrow supposed to be in a single quotation. Okay, we will do this for all the other field. The same thing for age. So okay, let's have this for address as well. And I also noticed something here. In this age supposed to be within a curly bracket. Okay, this is better, and then that is all. I think let's try and have our field. Okay, now let me have something that is not the requirement for the form. For the email, let me have just a letter, h, page 17, which is less than the requirement, and this a blank. Let me have, okay, you see we have please fill the following and resubmit the form. Username must be at least 5 characters long. Invalid email. Password must contain alphanumeric character. So here is our errors, but let's correct this to be in a middle. Okay, so this is not in a middle, so let's correct them to be in a middle. And in the style.css, let's check here. We have a margin bottom of 5 or 15 pixel. Okay, let's have a margin top or top margin. Let's check which is the correct margin. Top to, let's share this together with the, this will be 10 and this will be 5. We share it together with the margin bottom and margin top. This will be 5. So we have something like this. It is better. And our bottom, let's check where they have the bottom. Input type submit, this is the bottom. We have display to block. It is inline now. Let me have display to block. So now let's go back to the implementation and have another. You see here we have it better. Now it's set in the middle. It's set in the middle, must be greater than or equal to 18, and if we have 100, in this case let's have something different like 100. Let's see the message that we have. Okay, now we have a new, let's have something that is not the requirement again, and in this case I will pass 200 H, and the password here, let me have something like this, and we submit the form. You see now the submit button is not floating, and all this is set in the middle, must be less than or equal to 100. Now let's have the correct values, and we submit the form again to see if it takes us to the success page. First, let me have a something full of 5 characters and my email. Okay, send, and then password of alphanumeric, something like this, age of 19, and the address is let me have something like 7th Street. So it takes us to the success page. Okay, this is our tutorial. I hope you will subscribe our channel for more videos on programming. Thank you very much.